Hey everybody, it's been a couple of weeks since I've done one of these videos, and before I go farther, I want to just once again thank every student, parent, and leader who participated in Fine Arts last weekend. You represented your church, your town, your youth ministry, and your Jesus very well, and we love you for it. Today I do want to share with you just a thought from John chapter 4. Verses 46 through 54. It's an account that'll be pretty familiar to most of you. I want to read it and then we'll break it down. As Jesus traveled through Galilee, he came to Cana where he had turned the water into wine. There was a government official in nearby Capernaum whose son was very sick. When he heard that Jesus had come from Judea to Galilee, he went to beg Jesus to come to Capernaum to heal his son who was about to die. The official pleaded, "Lord, please come before my little boy dies." Then Jesus told him, "Go back home, your son will live." And the man believed what Jesus had said and started home. Now while the man was on his way, some of his servants met him with the news that his son was alive and well. He asked them when the boy had begun to feel better, and they replied, "Yesterday afternoon at 1 o'clock, his fever suddenly disappeared." Then the father realized that this was the very time that Jesus had told him, "Your son will live." This story is just amazing to me, but initially as a dad, it is a really tough story to swallow. I can't imagine, and I pray I never have to experience what this dad was going through as his son lay on his deathbed. I'm sure that he felt the full range of emotions: sorrow, fear, anger, confusion, anguish. It probably to some degree was affecting him physically, and then for him to have to journey to find Jesus, it was as desperate a situation as I could imagine being in. And so the man finally meets Jesus and starts begging him, "Jesus, will you come home with me? Will you come to my little boy? Will you put your hands on my little boy? Will you say something over my little boy? Will you do something to save my little boy's life?" And Jesus made an emphatic statement: "Your son will live." But he accompanied that statement with a directive: go back home. Now, I'm sure that in this moment, the man internally had a little bit of conflict. He's thinking, "I came here to drag you back with me, Jesus, and you're telling me to go home, but at the same time, you're telling me my son is healed. What I came here for has happened." And so the man did something that I would imagine was difficult, and I guarantee would be a challenge for me. He turned around and he headed home. Now, you got to understand, Cana and Capernaum were about 20 miles apart. So this was roughly a 2-day journey. So he gets the word, but in his mind, he's not going to know the for sure answer to that word of whether his son is really alive or not for 2 more days. He had to walk it out. He had to go for it. He had the word. He held dear to the promise that Jesus gave him. And this man's faith was confident enough that he said, "All right, you said it. I'm going to go for it." But even so, he wasn't going to see it with his own eyes until later on down the road. Now, a whole lot of us have had experiences in life that are difficult, or maybe we've got promises that we feel Jesus has spoken to us. Whatever the case, you can be confident that when Jesus says it, it's already happened. This story communicates real clear to us that the man eventually was met up by some of his servants, and they came to discover that the minute that Jesus said, "Your son is healed," that he was healed. Now the man didn't discover it. He didn't see it fleshed out before him for a day or 2 later. And that's where a lot of us have a hard time. Jesus gives us a word, we have a promise, and we take hold of it. But a whole lot of the time, we don't see that thing with our own eyes until sometime later. You have to walk it out. That's the journey of faith. That I've been told something. The Lord has made a promise to me. And you know what? You can rest assured that Jesus, when He says it, it happens right then. You just might not see it. Jesus operates on a totally different plane than we do. We operate in the realm of the natural, in this realm of time, the timeline that's extended. But Jesus knows the beginning from the end, and He sees everything in the middle at once. And when He declares something, you can be promised it's already happened. The question is, are we going to have the faith to walk it out, trusting that we're eventually going to meet that spot of promise on the timeline of our life. Whatever the promise is, whatever the word is, can you today walk it out? Can you trust that at some point in the future, some point down the road, you're going to see that promise come to fruition? I promise you that Jesus does not lie and that His promises will come true. I bless you, and I can't wait to see you again in the future.